Who else?
It was Full Sail until they sold.
Okay. Sweet.
Hello.
Ready?
Yep.
Hey, what's going on? It's Brian from SeacoastBeverageLab.com and Oh My Lanta. It is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast for the very 1st of July, 2015. We're back. We're here. There was almost a tornado around here. There's a lot of thunder, lightning going on around here, but we're going to plow right through it. We have someone on location getting the scoop on whatever she can get the scoop on out there. But I am here. We're going to do a hot show. A lot of good news. I'm drinking holding a glass. What are you? I'm just drinking a beer. I'm drinking the Dinner Ale by, I was just about to say by Lunch Brewery, by Maine Beer Company. And I got to say, Mo is still number one in my heart. This might edge out Lunch, but this is actually, I had a bottle last night, and it was boozier than this bottle. So consistency issues, I'm not sure.
Maybe it just mellowed out overnight.
Maybe, but I've had the bottles next to each other for about a couple days, but still, yeah, it's interesting how the bottles differ, but I do like it. I wouldn't wait 3 hours for it, but yeah, it's good. Let's get to Sean first, who is on site from his house.
I am about to open. Oh, hello, this is Sean Jansen from twobeerguys.com.
Perfect.
I'm about to open a Round Guys Brewing the Berliner, a sour ale in a can.
Ooh, I love Berliners.
Well, where'd you get that? Or where are they from?
They are from, I got it in D.C. Oh, sorry, I got it in Philly.
Yeah.
And they are from Pennsylvania.
Nice. Well,
Lansdale, Pennsylvania.
I want first impressions the second you sip it. But live from the Thirsty Pig in Portland, Maine, Carla, what's happening?
Hey, Carla, Beer Babe here. I am actually drinking a Rising Tide Daymark. Picked it up on tap. I'm down here in Portland for a different event, but I decided to take advantage of some local bar Wi-Fi. So Thirsty Pig, awesome place to have a pint, and thank you for the Wi-Fi. Cheers.
And then
It's very nice out.
You were just down. You were just across the street for a quick event.
Yeah. So Navarre has an event takeover to lift my better half over there to hang out and drink some more beer while I came over into the podcast. But
nice.
It's not too busy over there. It's a Wednesday night, so it's not so crazy. They're doing a cornhole tournament right now, so you can, as you walk up to Navarre Res, you can kind of hear the cheers when someone gets a good shot, which is kind of fun.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, we got a couple things we want to talk about, and I mean, it's news no less, but I want to start off because I think we've all finally had this beer that we're about to talk about, and everyone's talking about it, and I don't have to say the name. No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about Not Your Father's Root Beer, and unfortunately, I don't have a bottle near me. Sean, do you even have it in your house?
I do not.
So, I have it in my house, but I'm not in my house, so I can't help you.
So I mean, basically, we've all heard of it. We've probably seen cases of it in grocery stores near us or beer stores wherever. But it's called Not Your Father's Root Beer. It tastes remarkably like root beer. And the stuff that they're sending from Wisconsin that we're getting out here is the 5-point-something%. I got to pull that label up because they make 3 different types of this root beer beer.
Yeah, they make
5.9.
5.9. So. I had it up in, it doesn't matter where, but I had it up in Lincoln when all 3 of us were up for the beer fest up there, and it tasted exactly like root beer, but it tasted more like a root beer float. It was kind of like, it had a little bit of vanilla, like a little bit more of like a sarsaparilla thing going on there. You could tell it was definitely root beer, but it was more of like it was just remarkably like root beer. I don't know what to say, but
yeah, if you handed that to somebody and said, "Here, enjoy my root beer," they would believe you that it was root beer. It's not one of those ones that just has a little flavor and kind of reminds you of root beer. It is, in my opinion, if you gave it to somebody and they didn't know, they would have no idea that it was technically, supposedly a beer.
Yeah, Sean, your thoughts on that?
It doesn't taste like a beer, and you're spot on. When even having the first sip, I'm immediately thinking of a companion, vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
So I mean, it'd be great if you like to make root beer floats.
It's really good in a float.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had it at the little tap house up in But that was when we could get it. Right now, it kind of became an overnight kind of viral sensation, and now it's actually a little bit hard to find around here until we get the next batch or shipment or whatnot.
I kind of get a weird, and so for my taste, and I bet it's probably the same for you guys. I can only probably have a half a pint, maybe a pint. Not a full 6-pack. It is super sweet. But I'm just not used to something so sweet because I've had soda in a while, so that's a super sweet.
I'm the same way with regular root beer though. Like I'm not gonna drink a 6-pack of regular root beer either.
Yeah.
That's.
No, it's true. I mean, it's just so sweet. But what was I gonna say? Yeah. So what is more interesting about this is not just the kind of overnight success, as Carla was saying, but it kind of has that to me it seemed like a Four Loko appeal where you're drinking something. I never had it, but you're drinking something so sweet that it kind of might mask the alcohol, and you could definitely overdo it. But I think that sweetness is going to stop you from overdoing anything because it is so sweet. But Sean, do you have any thoughts on the kind of like you said it doesn't even taste like a beer? Do you have any problems with it kind of masking it being a beer at all?
Well, it comes in 6-packs, right? And usually, if I'm going to buy a 6-pack, it's like for me or somebody else, and I know I'm going to have a couple in that. I feel that I'm not sure if I could drink a full glass of it by itself, let alone the multiples within a 6-pack to finish a 6-pack. I do know that I've been to a lot of stores that and people just come in and they're like, "Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it?"
Wow.
And so there's a high amount of demand for it, and a lot of people actually going into all sorts of different stores to find it. So there's even in New Hampshire is where I experienced that in the past probably about 2 weeks. I actually had it on draft when I was in Philly, and I didn't really understand the phenomenon around it, or maybe it hadn't started the phenomenon in our area at that time.
Yeah, that was a month ago too. Jeez.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
We're getting all the stuff before it's cool,
If I was a bar owner or bar manager, I would have caution about where I put it on draft. I know. I mean, if I was a local brewer, I would not want to have my IPA to go on the same line after Not Your Father's root beer, because you can imagine that no matter how much you clean it, that it'd be very difficult to get that syrupy root beer out of the lines.
Great
so
call.
you probably get like a root beer IPA. So if there is someone out there that wants, my advice would be, if you're gonna put it on where the line that you typically dedicate for a stout, and that a stout will probably overpower it, or even a strong dark beer at that point.
Can a brewer request that it not be put on that sort of line, or is that all the bar owners call?
Bar really, it's kind of what lines opened up.
Gotcha. I figured. Yeah, I mean, it obviously it would seem like it's the bar's call, but yeah, coming from someone without experience, it makes sense.
But in 2 months from now, if you go in and try your beer on draft, and you're like, oh, this kind of sounds tastes a little off, and what could it be? It tastes like sarsaparilla and root beer. You're like, okay, you know what was on that line beforehand.
And go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, as a bar manager, bar owner, you don't want to have to pay to have your lines replaced.
Yeah.
No, right.
Yeah.
So the thing that has me a little annoyed about this beer is that it is technically, from what they're saying, a beer, that it may have a hop or two in it, which means that everyone in the world is asking me, have you heard about this new beer that tastes like root beer? Like, it's one of those things that I feel like this belongs in the family of the malt beverage, the twisted tea, the Smirnoff Ice.
Yep. Strawberita, Limerita.
Suddenly it has the novelty of being this weird other thing. So people are going nuts for it, which is not fine, but literally it's the fastest growing beer SKU right now. Like it's insane how much people want this. And that goes to the question too of, how is this tiny brewery, picking up that demand, and that's where you get into this weird where you get to this weird land where the Boston Globe just wrote an article, and they were trying to figure out basically who's behind this, this phenomenon that has literally exploded over the past couple weeks. It's not technically a flavored malt beverage. Technically, it's a beer because it has hops in it.
Apparently. Apparently.
So the thing is that the Boston Globe, went and did some investigation and basically asked them, how it's made and asked them where it came from. And the last paragraph of this article, which we'll link to in the show notes, has the author saying, he talked to, the brewery, asked them all these questions, and then it says, a couple of days later, I discovered an LLC filing with the state of Illinois that lists Small Town Brewing as part of Innovation Brewing, which is a subsidiary of Fusion Products, makers of Four Loko. When I showed it to the PR company, they go silent for days and then finally back off their claims of independence, explaining that Small Town was recently acquired by Eugene Casper, owner of Pabst. So this is one of those things that it's a little weird, like who owns this and did they just acquire it because it's so huge? I don't know. Thoughts on that?
It'd be very interesting to get that timeline to see when they saw the SKU go up and then how quick they were to if this was an acquisition like that. But my extreme problem with it kind of lies deeper than that with the interview with the brewer and kind of his not so technical knowledge on kind of what is in the beer. So as Carla was alluding to, it technically to become a beer, Reinheitsgebot, the German purity law, water, hops, yeast, malt. Hops is one of them. There's no, Sean said it, there's no taste of hops in that beer. There isn't, not at all. But in this interview, it says that Gary Zen from Boston Globe says it's a beer, right? There must be hops in it. And then the brewer says it has floral hops in it, a very small amount. And when he asked what kind of hops, he kind of paused a little bit and then said a couple hop names. But my question is, was it too easy for Pabst to acquire this brewery if there's a brewer that's so non-technical with the terms? And then he also mentioned that his brewers are part-time, which kind of made me think, like, what's really going on behind this thing here? Thoughts on that, Shano?
I've read other articles, and it's been well known that Pabst has a connection with it, especially through the supply chain area, meaning that they do have some ownership of distribution rights around the project. I do think it's a little fishy about how the project got started. I think over a couple more weeks, I'm sure that'll be flushed out of what the full story of it is. Just continuing on that in the same thing idea of a root beer. You guys may or may not remember. I think it was year number 2 of North Shore Beer Week. We did a collaboration with Cape Ann Brewing in Gloucester, and we made a root down brown ale.
Ooh.
We basically made a brown ale with the same spices that you would have in a root beer. So it was actually beer brewed as a root beer with root beer spices into it, and that we used for North Shore Beer Week. So that was a collaboration with TJ Peckham when we brewed it as a batch at the brewery. So that was pretty fun. But that was a legit beer base.
Yeah.
It didn't taste as sweet. You would taste it like, wait, it's beer, and I could taste it. It has star anise in it, licorice, and other ingredients.
Yes, I mean, and then that's coming from obviously you and TJ knowing the base of beer, and so the question is still unclear. Were they just trying to make money and pull a fast one? But I guess what we might never know. But I think once this blows up and we see a commercial on TV, now we're going to start seeing some weird things going on.
I mean, the real question is or the solution, take a video of their brewing process. Are they actually mashing in with milled grain, or are they using sugar extract to that's maybe even malt extract, but just a sugar as if you would be creating root beer?
They're just standing over the kettle with a couple of cans of Barks and all that, and just shaking the kettle. But it is worth mentioning that there are 2 other. So the ones that's nationally distributed is the 5.9%, but locally on draft they have the 10.7% and the 19.5%, which to me sounds like root beer schnapps, which I've had, and turns out into one of those nights that's It's just no good for anybody. But I wonder what the 19.5, because my guess is the 10% tastes less sweet, but the 19.5 is like, yo, it's like enamel stripping sweet. But I have no idea.
I could imagine it would taste at that point maybe like a bourbon, like how
Yeah.
Utopia does.
Yep. That'd be.
I guess it
freaking
depends
crazy.
how it's aged.
Yeah, it's aged in an A&W bottle and then poured into a Barks can and then just shaken up. But Carla, final thoughts on this before we hop on to something more
I mean,
exciting?
More beer related.
Yeah, more beer. Yes.
I just read an article about how, there's a ton of choices for very hoppy things in our beer market right now. And I just want people to think about, is this a reaction to that? Do there need to be more entry level, sweeter things going on in beer? And is that why this is taking off? I think it's reflective of a bigger need to let people into this kind of industry in more avenues. So, whereas this is going to be one of those things, it's going to get popular, it's going to be there, and I think it's going to stick around, kind of like Smirnoff Ice and Twisted Tea is going to stick around. But, but what's the driver of this? Who wants it and why? And I think these are questions that brewers need to think about.
Yeah, and it is in no way a gateway beer to anything that we know and have talked about for the past 114 episodes. Like there's not a chance you can taste this and be like, I might like beer, because if you like that, there's a good chance you're not going to find a beer that you like. I mean, you might like it as a beer lover, but if you're new to craft beer, not a chance. Like there's no beer in the world that tastes like that because it's not a beer.
Now, Brian, for other breweries out there, would
Yes.
you recommend anyone to get into this category?
I'm not a big imitation game fan. Obviously, imitation's the best form of flattery, but I don't think so. And I think if we do see imitation of this beer, it'll be, just a gimmick from somebody else. I think brewers are smarter than to do this, because it usually goes the other way, right? With the Super Bowl commercial, you see the pumpkin peach, they start mocking us or the brewers. So I don't think it works the other way. I don't think we'll do it, but what do you think?
I would advise against it unless they wanted to make a root beer.
Very true. Hey, and there's some great breweries that make their own root beer. Woodstock is one of them, and heck, even breweries up in breweries make their own soda, such as Four Quarters in Burlington.
Or Mercury.
Yeah.
Switch Brewing Company.
So go that route and don't even.
Captain Eli sodas.
Yeah. So yeah, great question, Sean. But I hope not. But just like I said, we might. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Lagunitas made something, because they seem to like explode on Twitter every 5 months or something. But, let's move on, Sean. You brought something up, because a lot of us usually go to like beer schools and like beer bloggers conferences, but you found an event that's kind of like for everybody that can go, and it seems pretty wild. What's going on with this?
So yeah, I came across it on an email that I received. It's a course called "Doing Craft Beer and Brewing Right" with Charlie Papazian on the Maine coast. It's currently scheduled for August 26th to 30th, 2015. It is a unparalleled craft beer retreat in Whitehead Island, Maine. When I first looked at it, I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. And I go, ooh, look at the price. For a single occupancy, it's $1,355, where a double occupancy per person is $1,000. It includes course tuition, lodging, all meals, boat transportation to the light station from the mainland base, and it actually kind of takes into and includes the taxes, that either the meal tax or the lodging taxes that are required. When you start breaking it down by day to day, because it's August 26th to the 30th, it becomes a lot more reasonable in price. You can find information about it on whiteheadlightstation.org.
Mm-hmm.
So whiteheadlightstation.org. In the event, it seems to be that they've actually done this for 6 seasons in a row with Charlie. And he basically instructs and leads conversations on beer and homebrewing with an emphasis of the world's remarkable beer journey. You do get a field trip to some local Maine breweries, during your trip and during the event, and that there will be guest craft brewers adding into the conversation and joining Charlie in the course.
So yeah, I bet the cost breakdown probably turns out okay considering where it is and the hotels and the food and such. My only question is, I mean, this is kind of like the fantasy baseball camp of craft beer, but
Exactly.
as I'm saying that though, I think I mean, yes, this is not me knocking Charlie Papazian, but is Charlie Papazian enough, or are there going to be other guests there that he's going to bring? Because he's great and all, but it'd be nice to have some other help from some like other people that are local to that area, or make it more of a not all about Charlie event, more all about beer event. I got a suspicion.
I do know that because I heard from a couple breweries that operate in New Hampshire that there's been a reach out from somebody in the organization that's asked different breweries if they wanted to have their beer participate into the program to reach out to them. So it's very possible that there'll be beers not necessarily normally distributed in New Hampshire being part of this craft beer education program.
I mean,
And here's an interesting thing. There's a maximum of 12 course participants. So
oh god, so it's a proven
really
cost model.
Focused.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. So it is baseball camp. Like you're swinging with Wade Boggs. Who's a pitcher.
And honestly, this is one of those things that if you have the ability to really get into your passion, here's where you can do that. Like, I view it as kind of like an intensive into beer. Like, okay, here's an expert, and he may or may not bring in other people. I'm not sure, but he's been doing it for years, and we're happy to have him in the state. But at the same time, how often do you get a chance to get really that one-on-one kind of access to that amount of information? You're not going to a giant beer fest. You're spending time with people, learning basically all about beer, ins and outs of it, what you're doing. I would love to know, like, who the participants typically are. Are they people who want to open breweries? Are they retirees that really want to learn more about this new craft beer thing? Like, I would love to know a little bit more just about who's going to this, but it's an interesting thing, and it does happen, and it happens, and it fills up every year. So there's got to be something that they're offering there that's good.
Wait, and what's the one they do in Western Mass that Valley Malt puts on? That's, I guess, is that just for brewers or but that's a big. I wish I had a link ready, but that just came to mind. Valley Malt does a big thing where they invite a bunch of brewers over and talk about beer. So that's very intensive for the brewer. Maybe it's a nice little intensive thing for folks. But final thoughts on this, and Sean, Carla?
If I could, go ahead, Carla.
I was going to say, if you can't afford to come to that, just come to Maine in general. We got plenty to show you.
Oh, and yeah, there's festpicks.com. Mike has it's a link to the video from 2012. So either he didn't go the last 2 years, or this is the best we've got. But check it out on that website, and we'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, it's a 11-minute slideshow with stuff. So check it. Yeah. Oh, Sean.
No, I was just going to say that if I could swing it and fit that into my schedule, it'd be very interesting to do it. Cause
I mean, we'll have our own conference.
I'm sure you're trying stuff that Charlie sourced that it's very difficult for other people to source.
Yeah, I mean, 2016 will be the year of the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast Conference of Champions, we'll call it. So.
Host, sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
It's Chick-fil-A and with your host Hulk Hogan, so that'll be cool. Either way. Come on, brother. All right, so I want to wrap this up with a smile. It's a short show, but it's easily digestible because we're talking about good things. Starting today, maybe, but the first pint on Friday, our very first guest on this podcast, David Sokolsky, formerly of everywhere, Hill Farmstead, Blue Lobster, White Birch, but now he has his own place. Newmarket, New Hampshire. It's up the street from Portsmouth, not a long drive. It's a brewery called Deciduous Brewery. Supposedly, their brewery's opening up later in the month, but starting today and tomorrow, the kegs are rolling out to very select bars in the area, one of which being Whim, which we all know and love, friends of the show. And this Friday they're tapping the beer. I didn't even see what beer it was, but all I know is that they're tapping the beer, and David's going to be there to celebrate. So, Carla, do you have any more info?
I can go grab you the name of the beer. I think it's called Forward, the forward of a book.
Okay.
But honestly, I'm just so super excited. And if there's anybody here that's listening to that, and it's Friday, they're starting at 6 p.m. and they're going to have their beer on tap, and it's going to be awesome. This has been a long time coming, and the one thing that we do know about Dave is that he would never put anything out the door that isn't up to par. So if you have any, about new brewers, blah 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 blah, he would never let it go out the door if it wasn't good. So we're very excited to see him join. But also, if you've never been over to Whim, it's a great. It's right on Route 1 in Portsmouth. Really cool place, good food. So we hope to see you guys on Friday. That would be really cool.
So Forward, just because I just looked it up, Carla, is a 3.9% table blonde.
Get in there. Nice. A thoughtful beer. Nice.
Yes. And it looks like it's going to be not only kegs, but packaged.
All right. I'm in. What's good about it, though, is Newmarket's getting some serious love. And actually a lot of great places that you normally don't think about. When you think about beer places, you think about breweries and you think about Whim, which is awesome. You should always think about breweries and Whim. But luckily, because it's in Newmarket, he's spreading a little bit of love to the place right next door to him. So here are the lists of places that they're initially going, and they're going to be doing more. But for those that are local, listen up. For those that aren't, you can tune out for a second, but don't. Panzanella's Italian restaurant. It's a pizzeria that's right next door to Deciduous. The Joinery, which is right across the street from Deciduous, which is a great place. I just had the best burger of my life there, I think 3 weeks ago. It's awesome. Sean and I, we know the Stone Church really well. Big fan. I mean, that's a good place for that beer to go. Whim, of course, and then Black Trumpet and Row 34 in Portsmouth, which Row 34 has it first started in Boston, which it's like beer heaven. They only get great beers there. It's
located right over by Trillium.
Yes. Oh, the Boston one, correct. Yes. Yep. So there's that, and then there's Johnson's Seafood and Steak in Northwood. I've yet to go. Anyone been? So I never heard of it. Sean? No?
Johnson's Steak?
Johnson's Seafood and Steak in Northwood.
I've been there.
Okay.
Yep. It's on Route 4202.
Oh, okay. Oh. Gotcha.
It's on your way between, Concord and Dover, Rochester.
Man, get in there. And then, last but certainly not least, I just been there a couple weeks ago, Tuckaway Tavern in Raymond. Man,
wonderful place.
Sean, you've been hiding that from me, and we talked about this weekend that I just went there last week, and man, such a great place. But yeah, so I mean, it's cool to see those bars from a brewery that's destined for glory. Kind of get the nod and have that beer. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Based on their Facebook post from 2 hours ago, he also is working on a Berliner inspired variant and a porter variant.
Okay.
He said kicking around soon.
Sweet. Yeah.
He's so good at Berliners. I want that realm so much.
How's that, Sean?
It's fruity. It's a little dried fruit,
okay.
Peaches, plums.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not overly tart. It's extremely drinkable.
Yeah, so get to Whim around 6 on Friday, and you'll probably see. I mean, you're going to see Carla. You might see me there. But yes, check it out, and we're just excited because it's kind of like a Todd Mott thing where brewery long time coming, finally here. The wheels are starting to spin. So we're everyone's waiting. We know we're confident in the beer and the brewer, and it's being done right. It sounds so. I from doing this against the window of the brewery, it looks pretty badass inside. So that's all I can say. That might do it. Couple of scheduled conflicts for me this week, but let's go down the line real quick, Carla, because you are on site at the best place ever. Can you just turn the laptop? Is it cool just to see what's going on inside, or?
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a quiet night. It's a Wednesday. So we've got some folks enjoying some draft up there.
Nice.
I went from outside to inside because it started to rain, but I just Yeah, I got 2 big drips on my laptop, and I was like, screw this.
Yeah, we're out of here.
So I went inside, but I gotta say, Thirsty Pig's a great place to go, especially if you want to find Bissell Brothers on tap and a couple other local taps. And just thanks for having awesome Wi-Fi. I appreciate that. Huge shout out to them. If you guys are, coming, if anybody's coming into Portland to go to Navarre Res, they're right across the street. Come by, have a sausage, have dinner here.
Hell yeah.
Very chill place to be. And I don't think I've talked about them too much, just because they're just such a comfortable place for me. But on a night like this, I can manage to do a little podcast and live on site and not have to then get in my car to come down here. So that's pretty cool.
Carla's been to Lively Brewing, Dunkin' Donuts, and now Thirsty Pig. So she's our road correspondent.
Yeah, this is much better than a Dunkin' Donuts. I will tell you that. At least I can have beer.
Awesome. Do you have anything coming on this weekend besides Friday? Anything?
Honestly, Friday is my only beer plan. I've got a friend coming up for the weekend who's going to hang out. We're going to have barbecue a little bit, do the kind of typical American thing, but we're going to just play it by ear for the rest of the weekend. But Friday, I'm definitely coming down to Portsmouth for the Deciduous launch, and I will probably be kicking around a little bit, maybe go over to Earth Eagle, something like that, depending on who's open what on Friday. I've got the day off, which never happens to me, so it's like, yay!
Oh, geez. Well, let me know when you're down. I will.
Yeah, I will. I'm probably going to come down like midday, because, why not? I've got the whole day. I got no reason not to. So.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, Earth Eagle, let's get in there. Let's do it.
Sweet.
Shauna, what's happening? Big weekend coming up for the big guy?
Just 4th of July, taking a little rest on the weekend, but the following weekend in the beer world is actually a pretty busy weekend.
All right.
You may or may not know that it's the first annual Seacoast Micro Brew Fest in Dover.
That's next week. Oh my gosh.
It is also the first annual New England Country Music Festival at Red Hook Ale Brewery.
Yep. Yeehaw.
And I believe is also, I think it's the weekend for the beer fest in Littleton.
Maybe I didn't have to.
I think it is.
I saw something when I was at.
So we're talking about Saturday, July 11th, and the weekend of 11th and 12th.
Oh yes, yep. So that's, big weekend.
That's pretty crazy.
God, I keep forgetting about that. So maybe next week we can talk about this, get some more information on that Micro Brew Fest. That's pretty huge for Dover.
And then the following week,
yes,
it's the 6th annual Bloggers Conference.
Wait, what? Oh, it is. Oh,
yeah, the 18th. Yeah, I'm going. So.
Yes.
Yay.
And
I have to skip last year because I had just gotten married and I had no money left for traveling. So I'm really excited to be back with the crew again this year.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, and I won't be there, but Ben Watts and I will be up in Portland for that weekend. So there's
perfect
consolation prize. But yeah, so for me, this will probably be up Thursday, but Ben and I are doing our Let's Talk Beer show 11 on Thursday, first Thursday of every month, as per usual. Rocking that out. Oh, it's tomorrow. Yes, but for those listening now, probably already happened. But we're gonna rock it out. We're playing a game called Beer or Fireworks, where guess if it's a beer or fireworks. So if you want that and much more awesome stuff, get over to Levin. There's rumors that Levin also might be getting some Deciduous down the line, but you heard it here probably first. But yes, so that, and then again this weekend I'll be over at WIM, and then just kind of kicking around. It's supposed to be a nice weather week, so I want to get out as much as possible. I'll make it over to Garrison City, see how they're doing. But yeah. So that's gonna do it. We covered some great stuff. If you're listening and have had the root beer, the Not Your Father's root beer, please tweet with the hashtag SBL podcast and let us know what you think, because we don't think our consensus is just a consensus. It's the real opinion. So we think it's a little bit sweet. But final thoughts before I hit the end button, guys? No? All right, cool. Well, guys, raise a glass. Carla, thanks again for joining on location. Sean, as usual. And we will talk to you guys later. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.